Hi, I'm Karis.
And I'm Kaitlyn.
Today, we're talking about being at church after dark.
And that's what happens when church hits the fan. Have you ever been at church and the sun goes down and you can feel demons staring at you from behind the pupils? I was going to say pulpit. Let's start that one over.
The demons are standing at the pulpit.
Dude.
Maybe.
They are.
Today we're talking about being at church after dark. And if you're a PK, this one is especially for you.
It's creepy, y'all.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
And we're not talking about being at youth group at 7 p.m. after the sun goes down. No. We're talking about when everyone else has gone home and you are the last person at church, or your parents are.
And your dad tells you, go turn the lights out in the main sanctuary. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh my gosh. There's nothing scarier as a child.
Dun, dun, dun.
There's nothing scarier. Yeah, that's what we're talking about today. And I've never heard anyone actually tell me that they experienced this, but I know it had to be universal.
I had one person tell me they experienced it.
Okay, good. Because if not, people are going to be like, what the heck? Like, I never experienced this, and it's just going to be us. Like,
if nothing else, this is for that one other person.
Are they listening?
I think they listen.
Okay. All right. This is for you, random stranger. And I love you, random citizen. Yeah. So today, I think we mentioned this. Oh, we actually, in the first episode, we talked about talking about this.
We did.
Yeah. Because we mentioned that for some reason, events, church services, meetings, whatever, our dad was usually the one who was locking up. And he employed us to help him do that.
At that moment in time, we were an extension of our dad.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever he says, yeah, I'll lock up the building, he really meant that me and Karis were locking up the building.
Yes, because there's a lot of doors to lock. There's a lot of lights to turn off. Yeah, it was, we knew what every key on his key ring was for. We knew all the codes. Like, it was a system that we honestly, like, props to us.
I remember at one point, people would come up to me and like, Kaitlyn, can you come unlock the storage building door here? And I was like, yeah, for sure. I'm like, yo, Dad, toss me your keys. And I led the people.
Like, grown adults coming to child Kaitlyn.
Yeah, I was like 13.
Dang. They knew the power that you held.
I knew the power I held.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just a PK thing. That's part of being a PK. I don't really know any other profession where, like, your children hold so much in their hands, so much authority.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not in Christ, in the building.
In the building. Yeah.
So much authority in codes and for the alarm, you know?
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure for a kid. But we PKs, we can handle it.
I found it empowering.
Me too.
I would look at other people and like, oh, you're so much lower than me.
Dude, okay. You know on Disney Channel, they used to have this segment during the commercials where it showed like kids and what their parents did for work.
Yeah.
I daydreamed so much that they would come do like a 2-minute segment on us as pastors' kids.
Oh my God.
And I was like, man, people would be so jealous if they just knew the stuff that we get to do, you know?
And then it's just like us running around a church with like keys. Like, see this key? It unlocks this door.
See this light switch? It controls the whole sanctuary.
And I know how to work it.
With just one move of my finger. It's in my power. And I legitimately like was trying to plan a way to pitch this idea. Never mind that Disney hates God and stuff. But I for real thought, and I was like, I'm going to meet Cole Sprouse
Oh, shoot. I had a crush on Dylan Sprouse.
I had a crush on both of them, and it was either the PK thing that I was going to meet them or winning the Danimals thing, but neither of them ever happened.
I always imagined I would meet them in the airport. I had a dream about it once. Because we were getting ready to go to Alaska to visit our grandma, and I was like, in my dream, we were at the airport going, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Kaitlyn, you were 5 when we went to Alaska.
I was like 6, first of all.
Oh my gosh. Every time you tell me a story about when, like, stuff that went on in your head, I'm like, you were thinking years ahead. Like, trying to meet Cole and Dylan Sprouse when you were 6, thinking about segregated heaven.
Dude, I'm so way beyond my years.
I want to say the episode last week, I was worried that it was going to be a little too controversial. Well, at least things that I said, but people were receptive, and I so appreciate whenever we do an episode and people tell us what they think about it.
Oh,
whether that's good or bad. We've already had people like, hey, you could do this better, or you need to, with the audio or whatever. I appreciate that too. But I really appreciate when people are like, I get it, because that's the whole point of this, is people will relate and get it.
Yeah. Because it feels cool. It feels good whenever, like, I had that same experience.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but there's one part where Captain Holt was like, vindication. And that's what I feel like every single time somebody texts me, like, oh my gosh, I had that same experience. I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Also, I want to put it out there before we start talking about our experiences. If you ever had an experience in a church after dark, because, dude, people see some crap. People see some church, And we want to hear about it. Please message us in detail your story, and we might tell it.
Yeah, let us know if you're okay with us sharing, and we'll share.
Yeah, for sure. We haven't asked permission to share anyone else's stuff, but we're doing it anyway. But we'll ask your permission for sure.
Because this isn't about just 2 PKs. It's about all the PKs.
I've thought about doing an episode where we just tell other people's stories.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah, but we need people to tell us their stories first.
Well, I feel like some people already are telling us their stories.
That's true. Like, we had someone reach out, and she's probably listening, telling us that
you know who you are.
They had a similar experience with the UPCs. So that was vindication as well.
Vindication.
Because I felt like I was a little too rough, and then I was like, okay, no. Anyway.
Here's the difference between Karis and I. She's worried it's too controversial. I'm sitting over here and like, I think that was great.
Yeah.
We did so good.
That is the difference between you and I, because I'm sitting over here like someone's going to contact us and be like, you guys are da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like texting Kaitlyn, like last time we recorded after we left, I called her and I'm like, I'm worried that it wasn't blah, blah, blah. She's like, yeah, I could tell you're worried about it.
I'm not worried about it at all. If somebody says something, I'm like, all right, cool. That's fine.
I am. Anyway, let's get into this. So, being at church after dark, it's just creepy nonetheless. Like, no matter if something happens or not, and whether you believe in like supernatural things or demons or whatever you believe, it all changes when those lights go off and the last person leaves besides you. You believe in all that as soon as that happens.
Because here's the thing. In the daylight, when you're there at the church alone, it can be kind of creepy. But if there's noise happening, you can write it off like, oh, that's just the AC, Yeah. But as soon as the sun goes down, you're like, those are demons creeping up on me. And they're going to get me.
Why do you think being in a church is creepier?
Creepier?
Creepier.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think it's because it's like spiritual stuff happens there. And you're vulnerable. And you all of a sudden start thinking about, like, because in church, like, positive spiritual stuff happens. People get healed, they get saved, they get delivered, all that stuff. Or they get slain out in the Holy Spirit if you're from where we're from, and they start speaking in tongues. There's miracles, whatever.
Right, and they start dancing and hooting and hollering.
And hooting and hollering for the Lord. And then in my head as a child, nighttime was when demons got their revenge for all the spiritual beating ups.
Well, here's also my thought. Because I also was like, people who were like had demons cast out of them in the building, are those demons still in the building?
Mm.
And that was a legitimate thought. And I was just like, I'm going to say, Jesus, you can't get me. You might can, but I'm just going to say it.
I remember we had this one specific really long hallway at our church where all the Sunday school rooms were.
I guarantee if I went to that hallway again, I would still just not look and walk straight by.
Yeah, and at night it was really, really dark, but there was a door to the outside at the very end of the hallway. And so you had to lock that door. And Dad never wanted to walk down the hallway. So he would always make one of us go. And the door was on one end of the hallway and the light switch was on the other end of the hallway. So you would have to turn off the light, go to the door, go all the way down the hallway to the door, and then just run your butt back, because all of a sudden all those Sunday school rooms on both sides were dark. The whole hallway was dark. And dude, I was convinced that something was chasing me every single time.
Dude, do you remember one time I had the light on because I was like, I ain't doing this in the dark. So I turned the light on and I went to the end of the hallway. You turned the light out on me and I hightailed it back. I was so scared because those classrooms, they're like on both sides of the hallway and they're just dark doorways. And you're like, I know something's going to jump out of there and get me.
Oh my gosh. I just knew it. And I knew that they were just staring at me.
I think, here's honest. I think what scared me the most about it, as I mentioned it on the podcast before, is that we, like, one time we saw, like, blue streaks up in the ceilings, like, going around after a prayer meeting. And they were like, it's angels. And that right there, I was just like, there are angels flying around this place. They're demons too. And I was so, like, I know, like, they're angels and they're, like, God's whatever creation. But I was like, I don't want to see no angels. I don't want to see no demons. I don't want to see nothing. And what I want to see, I want to see people's faces. I want to see my mommy's face. And I want to hug her. But after that, I was like, if I'm seeing that, I know there's something else to see. And I don't want to see it.
I think what always went through my mind was when we were really young, we were told a story about, I don't even know if this happened at our church or someone else's church, but after a really good prayer meeting, someone was locking up the church. You hear all these stories, you know, and we'll probably tell our own stories. And who knows how much truth there is to it, you know, or even how biblically sound is. Like, you hear a story and you're like, that doesn't make any sense according to the Bible, but it still creeps you out, even though you know it's not possible. So anyway, they just had this really good prayer meeting. You know, spiritual warfare was happening. That's a big buzzword where we grew up. And they said that after they were locking up, they heard swords clanging, like,
oh, I do remember that.
And they said it was the demons and angels still fighting each other even after the prayer meeting was over. And I remember I heard that, and I guess it was supposed to be encouraging. It's like God's always protecting you even when you're not praying. But all I heard was demons and angels are fighting in the church. And so that was just what was going through my mind constantly.
Karis didn't want to get caught in the crossfire, you know?
Like, the demons and angels were like, who's this fool? Take her down.
The demon's like, target that one. And the angel's like, no.
You weren't supposed to see this.
They're like flying down slow motion, just like have their wings expanded to protect her.
Oh my gosh. I remember one time, I'm gonna tell my own demon story. Ooh. Again, we're not here to tell you whether or not demons are real, whether or not this stuff actually happened. We're just talking about it.
Hey, this just happened.
Yeah, this is what I experienced.
If you want to believe it, that's on you.
Yeah. So, it was, again, I think we were doing an event in one building of our church, and the other building was completely shut down. Like, there were people in the other building, but in the big building there weren't. And we had to go get something from the drama department, which was in the big building. And it was all locked up. Nobody was in there. So Dad gave me the key, and he's like, go get this thing from the drama department, which was backstage behind the stage, in a closet. And
upstairs. You had a ways to travel to get to the drama department.
And you had to go through the sanctuary, which I hated going through the sanctuary when it was empty. Because we had a really big sanctuary, like really tall ceilings, huge. We had a balcony. It was huge. And when you're in there alone, you realize how huge it was. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to make this so quick. I'm not going to look at anyone. I'm not going to, not anyone. Yeah. But I'm not going to look at anything. My eyes are straight ahead looking at Jesus. You're just
hoping you're not looking at anyone.
I'm looking right at that cross right above the baptismal. That's all I'm looking at. And so I went back there into the drama department and I reached for, it was on a step. I reached for whatever it was. And I heard from around the corner a whispering in gibberish. And it said, and I am telling you right now, I didn't grab no shoes or nothing, Jesus. I was not about to stand there and fight. I was not about to investigate. No. I grabbed whatever it was because I knew Dad would make me go back if I didn't grab it. And I ran for my life. I didn't turn the lights off. I didn't lock the doors. Nothing. I'll never forget that. That was the first, because sometimes, like, you have these fears, you're like, Karis, you're just being irrational. There's nothing here. You're making all this stuff up in your head. That moment, I knew I didn't make it up in my head.
Dude, I've heard whispering and stuff.
I heard it. That wasn't the only time that I've heard that.
I've heard, like, honestly, if you've ever watched Lord of the Rings and, like, when the ring is, like, speaking the black speech, do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Somebody out here is, but it's just like that weird language, and it's just whispering. I've heard it twice in my life, and I don't ever wish to hear it again.
Dude, sorry, I was getting some water. Yeah, I heard it again when I was at Bible college.
I heard it at the same place where you were.
Yeah, so the Bible college that I went to doubled as a summer camp, and we went to the summer camp every summer of our lives before I went to Bible college. Stayed in the same dorms, on the same campus, everything. So when I was there, one morning, mornings can be just as creepy as nighttime too, if it's really early in the morning. One morning, none of my roommates were awake, but I was going to go meet my husband now, Quince, he was my boyfriend then, for breakfast. So I went in the closet, huge closet, to grab my jacket. And while I was putting on my jacket, I heard, not that exactly. It was just the gibberish whispering right in my ear. Again, I grabbed my jacket and I hit the freaking road. I didn't tell my roommates were all asleep. I didn't tell them till later, like, hey guys, I think I heard a demon while y'all were all sleeping. And they were like, you couldn't have told us? Like, we could have left with you.
You just left them to it.
Well, I was thinking about myself. You know what's funny? I think I didn't even tell Quince that, like, because I met up with him right after. I think I just, like, kept it in myself as, like, not real.
I heard it in one of the closets. I think it was the end dorm is where I heard it.
That's where I lived. And that's the same building I lived in.
I went into the closet. Because when I experienced it, it was summer camp. And I went into the closet to go grab my bathing suit. And then I heard it, and it was youth camp, not summer camp. And I was probably like 14 or 15, and I heard it like it was like a whispering. I distinctly remember it was like in my right ear.
Oh my gosh.
And it was that weird, like if you played it backwards, it was probably like, he's always watching, or something like that. I don't know.
That's what Satan would say to you.
Yeah, so I grabbed my tankini, and I was like, I'm out of here.
The tankini was worth
it. Was like, I got a water slide to ride. I ain't doing no Satan.
Oh my gosh, that story wouldn't be nearly as funny if you weren't going for a tankini. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I want to tell a story again about when we've stayed the night at church multiple times.
Oh, brother.
especially when we were teenagers, because like we would stay a week with our youth group, and then we would do like mission stuff in the community during the day. But we saw a lot of stuff. Almost every single time that we stayed the night at the church, we saw stuff.
Here's the thing. Years apart. So, like, it's almost every summer we would stay a week, right? Every single time, the description that people told us, what they saw the night before, same exact thing.
Yes. I remember one time I was put in charge of the girls that were sleeping in the children's sanctuary, and all of us, it was probably about 10 of us, and during the night 3 or 4 girls saw the same thing in the room with us, and that's creepy enough. You know, I'm 16. They're like, these 13, 14-year-old girls are like, Karis, we saw a demon last night, what do we do? And I'm like, well, we're just gonna freaking pray and get some freaking anointing oil. That's what we're gonna do.
I don't know what anointing oil does, but we're using it.
Yeah, and we're like praying and everything. And our youth pastor, I don't know if I'll ever get over this. He was upset at us because he thought we were being dramatic and making things up. And so he got upset at us, and he came in and he like sat down and he was like chewing us out, and he was like, demons are not allowed in the church. There's no demons y'all just need to get over it. And so I'm, again, 16-year-old Karis, and I'm like, that's not true. And the girls are still seeing stuff, but they can't go tell the youth pastor because the youth pastor is just going to chew them out again. So they're telling me all this stuff. And one of the girls came up to me the next night, and middle of the night, and she's like, I just heard a whisper in my ear. And I was like, what? And she was like, it was a man. I was like, oh, excuse me? And she was like, he said, you think you can get rid of me that easily?
Oh, bro.
And I was like, I didn't know what to do. I really didn't know what to do. Because, again, I couldn't go tell the youth pastor. And I was the oldest one there. And
so what did you do?
We just prayed again, basically. And I spent the rest of the night going, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. I just, for some reason, thought if you said the name Jesus that they couldn't, like, they had to go away, which maybe that's true. Yeah. Of Jesus. It's quoted every scripture I know. Jesus wept.
I do remember him telling us and getting upset with us, and I legitimately prayed, and this might be bad, but who cares? But I was just like, I hope that demon comes and visit him tonight in the church. I hope he sees it. Because I'm like, that's ridiculous.
What if he did, and he was so scared that he didn't want us to talk about it?
He was just trying to rationalize it. He was like, they can't come into church.
Right, guys? Right?
She's like, yeah, let's all together say demons can't come into church on 3.
They're not real. They're not real.
Dude, and the creepy thing about it is, like, they all described it was like wearing a robe with like a thing covering its face, and it was like a dark black robe and stuff like that.
With its hands up. With its arms up.
Dude, and so, like, a lot of years later. How many years was it? Like, maybe 5 years later?
No, it wasn't 5 years. It was
3?
2 or 3, yeah.
Okay. We were staying different building. We were staying in the newer building. So, like, 2 completely separate buildings, same campus, different buildings. And we were staying up, and a bunch of girls said they saw the same exact description. Robe, hands up, dark stuff covering, like the robe covering its face. Saw the same exact thing.
You know
in
what?
a different building.
And they were different girls.
These were from a different church.
Yeah.
A different church came to help our dad.
We were doing like a children's ministry.
We were doing a kids crusade. And a different church, our dad was friends with another children's pastor whom we love dearly. I don't know if he or any of his family are listening, but we love you very much.
You know who you are.
You know who you are. We love your whole family. Anyways,
I think we're actually going to have one of them on the podcast.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Anyways, they came from up north.
Nacogdoches. Oh.
Nice going, Karis.
I'll cut that out.
They came from like hour north of us, but they came down, and like different girls from the other church said that they saw the same thing. Ooh. And I was like,
we're like, oh yeah, Gerald. We know him.
we did have a I don't know if it was a demon or I don't know, but several people in our youth group saw one demon that didn't look like the robe guy.
This was a different guy.
He was a different guy. Maybe we should reevaluate what happened in that church if we're like seeing like consistently like two of the same demons. Like, hey,
I was just thinking, I was like,
guy,
what was going on in the church that the demons were just like, yeah, this is cool, this is chill. I'm gonna chill out here.
Yeah, like one demon is like, how long you been here? He was like, I've been here for 15 years. How long you been here? I'm kind of new. I've just been here for 8, but you know. They're like, how long that guy been here? Oh, he's been here from the start.
Oh gosh.
No, but we named him because we saw him often, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
But he was like a tan, faceless thing.
I don't remember this.
Oh, it was after you left.
It was after I left.
Yeah,
So you're telling me that I was such a strong spiritual presence that after I left, it was like open gates for the demons.
Yeah, or that he just couldn't stand you. He was like, she's gone, thank God. No, or we're more spiritual to see.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But dude, it's kind of messed up. But we saw him a lot. I didn't actually see him, but like people I trust saw him in doorways and stuff. And we were at church a lot practicing for fine arts, human video, and we saw him a lot. And we actually named him Leon because that was the middle name of one of our friends, and we were trying to be a turd. And we're like, hey, Leon.
Man, imagine that.
I mean,
your legacy in the world is they named a demon after you.
Dude.
Oh,
I mean, maybe we should have prayed, but honestly, I was just like, you know what? I don't really care right now. If he wants to show his face, okay.
At that point, there were different things going on in our church that were more pressing than just seeing demons.
Yeah, also, I was doing human video practice, which is like exhausting. And so it's just like, really, dude, I'm trying not to pee my pants, and I'm trying to make a good demon face myself, so I really can't focus on actual demons, all right? I'm trying to be a good one myself.
Oh, my gosh. Maybe he was there to encourage you.
Maybe.
Like,
maybe
show you,
just like,
this is how you do it.
But he had no face.
That's how you do it.
Apparently. Oh, yeah, I'll just take my face off.
But there was also times where we definitely try to convince people that spiritual stuff was happening when it wasn't.
Yeah, we did like to joke around.
I remember one time we loved, again, this is when we were teenagers, because that was when we stayed the night at the church a lot, was in youth group, and it was never lock-ins. I never did a lock-in. It was always like we were actually sleeping at the church for a purpose, like we were doing stuff that week, so we were just staying at the church. And we love to play this game called Sardines, and it's really fun, especially if you have a huge empty building like that. And what happens is one person goes and hides in the building somewhere, and everyone else has to go find them. And when you find the person, you hide with them until everyone but one person is crammed into this little hiding spot,
and
which is why
and whoever's the last person is the person to hide next.
Yeah, and that's why they called it Sardines. And so we would have so much. That was some of my favorite memories, is just going around the church, like having fun, like trying to find people, trying to scare people. And one time we were up in the drama department, which was I don't even know if we were allowed to go all the places that we went, but we did it anyway, which was upstairs. And it was like, it was in the back. It was like this really dark hallway. Again, more Sunday school, creepy rooms. And you tell like
okay. So our friend who was heavily involved in sports broke his foot, and he was in a boot. And we had our other friend who, I don't want to say was like super scared, but he definitely was creeped out, especially if people were crawling. And so we got our friend with the broken foot to to crawl on the floor, but he couldn't put all of his like limbs down, so he had to like lift up his broken leg, and so he was just crawling. And our other friend, for some reason, had a baby doll in his hand, and so he just chunked the baby doll at him and ran off.
It was baby Jesus, because we were in the drama department, and that baby doll is what they use for baby Jesus. So we're playing Sardines, and he sees this 3-legged creature coming at him in the dark, and so he just grabs Jesus and
chunks it at him,
which is really metaphorical if you think about it.
Honestly, just chunk Jesus at whatever's coming at you.
Oh my gosh. And then one time, I don't know if you were in youth yet. I was pretty young. Again, we were staying the night at the church, and one kid was so scared of seeing demons, and he vocalized that, which was a wrong idea. And so in the middle of the night, we for some reason we had demon masks in the church.
Well, you have to do dramas.
Yeah. I don't know why we were so obsessed with playing demons in our dramas, but we were. And in the middle of the night, they like held the demon mask right above his face. And then they like woke him up somehow, like tickled him or something. He screamed. I heard it from the other part of the building. He screamed so loud. And the rest of the week, he was like, "Don't talk to me, guys." Like, he was genuinely upset about it.
So sorry to that one guy. That is funny, though.
One time, we were waiting in our car outside of the church at night. Again, no one else was there. We were waiting on our dad. He was in the church. And what he did was he grabbed the demon mask and a cloak. Mm-hmm. And he went out the back door of the church and came around the building and like just jumped up on the car window wearing that in the middle of the night. I literally cried because I thought it was for real. I was like, I've seen all these things and now I'm just dead. They're coming after me.
She said, "This is the one that whispered to me." Dude, if you ever wonder, like, why do you think it's okay to pretend you're a demon and scare other people? Well, it's our dad. That's why. Because so many times we would be at the church at night, and at one point there was a lobby with a TV, and it was right by the youth hall, and we just like use that to like just watch Bob's Burgers and Sharknado at the church.
Probably
like,
shouldn't have.
Like mature people. Anyways, so we were there and there was like glass windows all around, but it was dark, and our dad dressed up as a demon again. But it was like us and like 3 of our friends. And so it was a whole group of people, and he just like comes up to the window and scares us, and we're all just like screaming. I might have peed my pants. Who knows? But if you ever wonder, like, where did you ever get the idea that it was okay to scare people when they're like legitimately frightened of demons? Our dad.
Also, like we mentioned in the Halloween episode, we would just do dramas with demon makeup all the time. We were obsessed with it for some reason. So it was just part of our culture, I guess.
Do you remember the gloves that like had demon fingers? They were like super long.
Yeah, it was like Freddy. Red. It was Freddy Krueger.
Oh, I just thought they were demon fingers.
Whereas like, yeah, it was Freddy Krueger. One time when we were kids, like Kaitlyn said, Dad was always getting us with all that stuff.
Oh, bro.
Me and Kaitlyn decided to strike back. And so we tried to scare my dad, and we had it all set up. And to give a reference point, I think I was probably maybe 8 or 9.
I think you were 8.
So that means Kaitlyn was 5 or 6. And I was like, all right, listen, if we're going to get Dad good. And so he's sitting at his desk doing work. And we like do this whole thing where I dressed Kaitlyn up as a demon, but she's a child, so everything is too big for her, and then like falling off, and she's like adjusting everything.
So my robe is like sweeping the floor.
Yeah, and like you had on those gloves, but they were like falling off your hands. Like 3 fingers were in one.
Yeah, then I like wear the mask. It's way too big for me, so like his chin is like at my chest
to like hold the mask up. And I went to the back of the room, and I was like, just stand right here. Dad could totally hear us the whole time, but we thought we were so discreet. And I had a red flashlight, and and all of a sudden I shone it on the demon in the front of the room, and I had a bullhorn, and I said, "Ooh." And I really thought that he was going to pee his pants or scream or something. And he just looks up from his computer and goes, "Huh, that's nice, girls." And then he goes like, and I was like, "Are you freaking?" I thought this is the bravest man in the whole world.
He was probably like, just make sure to put that back in the right spot when you're done with it.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember one time I was going to get Dad because somebody gave us marshmallow shooters made out of PVC pipe.
Oh, I remember that.
And if you like blew on it without the marshmallow, because the whole point was like for you to like blow into it like a dart thing, but you just shoot out marshmallows, right? And so if you blew in it without any marshmallows, it sounded kind of like a trumpet, like a horn. And so I remember Dad was in his little desk, and I was like in the hallway, like beside his desk with the door open, and I was like, I'm gonna blow this and he's gonna think the rapture's happening. So I'm so confident, and I was like, and I had to stop blowing into it because I was laughing so hard. I was like, this man's probably so scared right now. He's like, the rapture's happening. And so I like got to collect myself, and I'm like, and then I'm like shouting like, Dad, did you hear that? He's like, the rapture.
What was his response?
He was like, what are you doing? And I was like, you didn't think that was a trumpet? He was like, no. I was like, well, shoot.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this one time, Dad had this illustrated sermon that he did in children's church where he would just be preaching, and he had this big ball with a label with a paper on it that said joy, and then someone dressed just in all black would come out and try to steal the joy, but he would pray and then they would go away. So he needed an assistant. I was 10 or 11. I was like, Dad, I'm old enough. Let me do this for you.
Let me steal your joy.
Please, just let me steal your joy. This is my intro into ministry, basically. So I was the person who was going to steal his joy. So I put on an all-black sweatsuit, a black cape, not like a mask, but like one of those things that covered the black things that covered your face, but you could still see out of the mesh.
Pantyhose.
No. It was an actual thing. And I had to wait in the closet by the stage until he was ready for me to come out and steal his joy. And so I was back there for like 10 or 12 minutes just in this demon costume, or if that's what you want to call it, if that's what you want to label it, and just waiting for my cue. And I remember standing there and I was terrified because I was all alone. And you know what my thought was? I said, the demons are going to see me in this costume and think I'm one of them. And they're going to like try to talk to me or reveal themselves to me.
You think they're going to come to you like, so, scare anybody today? I just terrified this little girl in the bathroom.
Started whispering in her ear. So what I did was I'm standing there in this demon costume and I start like lowly, like subtly singing, oh, how I love Jesus.
How's that the song you picked?
Because I was trying to make it known that I love Jesus.
No, I don't. Okay, here, this might be bad, but I wouldn't do that stuff because I don't want to stand out, you know? Because demons are like, this demon's singing about Jesus. So I would be so like just chilling out, just be like, oh yeah, I hate people. They're the worst. That's how you fit in. Everything's terrible, and I love that.
The Demon Survival Guide. We're gonna write a book, y'all. We've been there. We've done it. We know how it goes.
How to go incognito in the demon world. Turns out it's just backstage.
Dude, but honestly, okay, let's be real for half a second. How sad was it that we assumed that there was demons around us and not Jesus?
I mean, it's kind of sad.
Yeah, that is kind of sad, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think maybe just you go to like your worst fear and that's gonna happen.
It's also like a fascination type of thing.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think that's something like one of the reasons that we make it. Because honestly, let's be real. How much of that stuff actually happened, or how much of like our fears of stuff happening was legitimate, and how much of it was just our imagination, because we wanted the fascination, and we were more fascinated with the dark stuff than we were with Jesus.
Well, there's that, and also anytime we ever had a guest speaker come to our church, they would always brag about how many demons they cast out. And so they would, like, tell stories of, like, I cast out a demon, and I said, how many are in this body? And he said, 52. And so I whacked him on the chest with my Bible 52 times. True story. Somebody actually did that. He said he like jumped across the pews, like in the middle of his sermon, because he saw the person walking out. So he jumped across the pews to get to the guy, and he was like, "How many are in ya?" And the demon was like, 52.
I wish you guys could see Kaitlyn's facial expressions right now. I remember one guest speaker coming to our church talk about how he cast a lot. I'm just now remembering the whole story, and it's so funny about how, okay, it might have been true, though. Like, I don't want to sit here and say it's not real, because there was a young man who watched porn a lot and masturbated a lot, and that's how the demons came into his body, through that way. So when he cast out the demons in the middle of the church, apparently they came out as wiener.
I do remember that.
And apparently this poor teenage boy was laying on the ground bleeding out of his wiener because he had watched some porn. So you're right. Maybe stories like that is why we were so fascinated with it.
I do remember that service, because so the speaker was just saying, he didn't actually say wiener, okay? He didn't say that from the pulpit.
I don't remember what he said, but it was very implied.
But he I was young enough to not get it, and he was basically alluding to the part. He was like, the demon came out of which it came in, which is a little scary. And I was like, Dad, what does he mean? And so my dad was like trying to tell like this like 8-year-old kid is like, the demon came out of his private parts. And at first I was like, his butt? And he was like, the front end, honey. And I was like, oh.
I didn't get it until he started saying, and his pants began to soak with blood. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's a good point, though. That was talked about so much. You're like, well, this is what it's like to be a Christian, seeing demons all the time.
Yeah, and I think maybe the heart was just like, probably, maybe some of it was bragging, but also some of it could have been just like, Jesus is so good, he cast out the demon still. Yeah. And it's just so, maybe it might have been that. But also, I feel like there was a lot of fixation on casting out demons, or a demon was at my bed, the foot of my bed. And I said, out in Jesus' name, and it left.
Oh, there was that guy who told the story that it might be the same guy, because it's the same story. The demon was at the foot of his bed and just staring at him, intimidating him, and he cast him out, and he said when the demon left, he left a huge mess all over his house, papers everywhere, furniture knocked over.
Really?
And so he goes downstairs, he's like, wait a minute, I'm not cleaning this up. And then he commands the demon to come back in his house and clean everything up. And he said he did it. So who am I to say that he didn't?
Dude, he's a demon commander. He is high in the ranks.
Bruh. But, yeah. But you know what's interesting?
I wonder if he's like walks into his house one day and it's all messy. He was like, I bet a demon did this. And it's just dishes in the sink. He was like, demons! He's like snapping his fingers. Demons, come wash my dishes.
Get the cereal out of the bowl. Also, it's dried already.
How big of an idiot is he going to look like if they don't?
And he's washing the dishes.
He's like,
oh man. And I just know that, like, actual demons have such a fun time messing with people like that.
Oh, bruh. Dude, and so many times you hear stories of, like, people are like, I saw a demon at the foot of my bed. I don't know why they're at the foot of your bed. Maybe they got a foot fetish or something. I don't know. But they're always
always at the foot of the bed.
Yeah, it's just like, why? Anyways, and then one story, somebody said, like, they, like, saw Satan himself at the foot of his bed, and they just ignored him, and it took his pride away. And I was like...
Took Satan's pride away?
Yeah. Because he woke up and he was like, oh, it's you. It might have been like a story about Smith's Wigglesworth or whatever.
Maybe.
And
it gets blurred on whose story is whose.
Yeah, honestly, I'm just like, so many people tell stories. I mean, no disrespect to Wigglesworth, whatever his name is. Apparently, dude did some good stuff, like punting a dead baby across the room. But
I think that the enemy gets so much glory from that. You know what I mean? Like even
a dead baby. Or
no. The demon stories and like us seeing things when we were teenagers and like sitting and talking about it and stuff. When really, I just think we should have just been talking about Jesus. I said, like I always was conscious about demons being there and stuff, but I never, maybe sometimes, but I never had the thought of like, what if Jesus is right here?
Yeah.
Maybe I was scared of that too. Because I also remember a story being told. This is ridiculous, but a preacher said that he was praying and he asked Jesus to reveal himself to him. And he said that, quote unquote, Jesus showed up in his room and then he wanted him to worship him. And then he said, but wait, where's the nail scars in your hands? And then it turned back into a demon, and it was a demon masquerading as Jesus. And so I heard that, and again, the heart might have been to expose something or whatever, but I heard that and I was like, well, dang, I don't even want to see Jesus then, because I'm terrified.
Yeah.
You know? But all that to say, like, since we've left that culture, and it was the same type of culture at the Bible school I went to, I saw a lot of stuff there, but since we left kind of that culture of like demon hunt, like, you know, like an FX show or something like that, a special on CBS about demon hunting, I have not seen anything. Like I don't quote unquote see anything or hear whispers anymore.
No.
You know, and I think it's just because I'm done glorifying it. You know?
Right.
I'm done sitting here talking about what the enemy is doing and how he's like working and stuff. Yeah. And I just want to talk about Jesus.
I think the like real part of it is like whenever we like saw it was like more of a really big like feeling, like you sensed it. And I might sound crazy, but also I might be making complete sense, but it was just like sensing something there that's like truly not of God, right?
Right, yeah.
And so I think maybe what we should have been doing was like, instead of being able to sense something that wasn't of God, was just being more attuned and heighten our senses to sense and feel the presence of God, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I want to we've gone a little bit long, but I want to tell this story real quick before we end. And I remember it was like 2000. I was a teenager, and one of the other churches in our town found out that a homeless man had been living in their youth building for a month. Like he had been like hiding in closets, and like I tried to find a news story on this online and I couldn't find anything, but it was a homeless man, and apparently he just went to church one day and just stayed, and he hid. And I don't know if he had like pre-planned that ahead, or if he
just saw an opportunity.
He's like, man, this nice. And I remember they told us about that, and I remember thinking, I'm like, man, if I was the janitor or like a staff member who had previously been there alone at night and I learned about that, I would just poop my pants right there.
Dude, they even made t-shirts about it because they said he was the greatest hide and seek player of all time.
He's the hide and seek champion of 2015 or something, whatever.
Yeah.
And the way that he got found out was there was the youth girls were having a small group in one of the rooms that he was hiding in, and they offered popsicles as a snack, and he wanted a freaking popsicle. And so he came out of the closet, he's like, hey, and all these girls were like, oh my God!
He's like, I'll take one of them popsicles.
And he got arrested.
And he goes, y'all hear whispering around here? I'm just kidding. He didn't say that.
No, they didn't go to a Pentecostal church. They didn't believe in that. Oh man. So yeah, being a church after dark.
Creepy.
It's a wild thing. That's a wild thing.
I would still probably react the same way.
Yeah. No, not gonna lie. At the church that we're at, there's been a few times where I've like volunteered or like helped with something, and again, it's a big sanctuary, and if the lights are always off, and I ran across it. I was like,
oh yeah.
But I don't think it was because I actually saw anything, but it's just like instinct.
Yeah. There's like, I've been here before.
I would really, really love to hear all of the non-Pentecostals' thoughts on this episode.
Oh, yeah.
And also, if you made it to the end and you have ever heard the whispering, what did you say it was like?
It was like the black speech. You have to know Lord of the Rings and see it, but like the black speech that the ring like whispers.
The ring black speech. If you've ever heard that before.
Or dark speech or whatever.
Dark speech, we'll say that. If you ever heard that before, let us know, please. And also, if you think that we were just out of our minds, let us know too. We want to know.
We want to know.
And tell us your stories. So, yeah. Again, we're going to be on December 6th. We're going to be starting up every week. So that's going to be fun. Also, happy Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is tomorrow. And so be thankful that you don't see any demons tonight.
Be thankful you aren't in the sanctuary at night in the dark.
Be thankful. What are you thankful for, Kaitlyn?
A lot. Family. Family. No, I'm thankful. Community.
Community.
Family. Yeah, just people have showed up for me recently, and I really appreciate it.
I'm thankful for...
Are you gonna cry?
No, I was actually gonna burp, but I didn't have to anymore. I am thankful for being able to do this podcast.
Oh, I'm thankful for that too. I'm thankful that people listen.
Yes, I'm thankful that we have a way to talk about something that happened and also create something new, and I'm thankful for all of our listeners.
Yeah, I'm thankful I get to do something creative with my sister.
Aww, and we get to laugh our butts off together.
We get to sound like doofuses together.
Honestly, is one of my favorite things to do, is laugh our butts off together.
Me too.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you have a lot to be thankful for. And remember, this is what happens
when church hits the fan.
I like how we can never remember how our actual song goes.